Negative. Fast forward, uh, over, I don't even know. Let's see. Oh my God, it's got to be at least over 10 years later, right? We are reunited, okay? Because of our reunion, we are reunited. And mind you, I have not seen this person. So this is over 10 years later. It's maybe like 15 years. I don't got time to do the calculations in my head, but it was over 10 years. I had already had both of my kids. I was out of the abusive relationship. I was single and focusing on being a mom because when I left the relationship, the abusive relationship, I stayed single. I had a brief encounter with someone which is where I cheated, and it only lasted a year. Okay, and a little over a year, and after that, I was like, forget it now. I'm not even going to keep trying this, right? So I just stayed there. I just stayed single, focused on my kids. Did I move already? Yes. I had gotten my first apartment because I was a teen mom. I've lived with my mother and my grandmother the majority of my life into my mid-20s because anybody wasn't trying to pay no rent being no single parent. Okay? So, I met up with this, not up, I didn't meet up with them. Met up with them at the reunion, and it was so crazy seeing them because I hadn't seen them. He hadn't seen me. I hadn't seen him. I literally wouldn't even have known that he was like alive, kind of thing. Like, I'm sure I would have found out if something would have happened to him, but what I'm saying is, he never crossed my mind, and I'm sure I never crossed his mind. Just was no reason to cross minds. And so we see each other and we have a good conversation. It was like, dang, were you this interesting back then? Because we didn't have these type of conversations. I knew him, he knew me, but that was the extent of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was it, you know? And so we had a conversation and we realized, dang, we have a lot in common. And I don't remember you being this hot back then, kind of thing. And oh, I don't remember you being this beautiful back then. You know what I'm saying? Because it was nothing. So we exchanged phone numbers and we said, you know what? Maybe we can go out after, like, link up and really get to know each other, see what we've been up to. Because at the reunion, we didn't talk about what we've been up to. Small talk, I'm a mom, because apparently that's my title. I'm not a person, I'm a mom, he's a dad, we didn't talk about whether anybody was married or even in a relationship. Like, I didn't say I was single. He didn't say he was single. We didn't talk about that. We just talked about the two main things I remember, because this was a while ago now, that we both acknowledged that we had children and that, oh my goodness. And he happened to work, which, like, hello, he happened to work in the area of where I lived, well, where my grandmother lived. And all those years that I had lived there, I did not know, because he's older than me, I could have ran into him. And I never did, because he worked in the vicinity, in places that I would have been, and he worked there. And so it was odd. And so, of course, oh my goodness. So anyway, we exchanged phone numbers, and not right away. It wasn't even right away. Maybe like a month later. Okay, I'm gonna give it a month. We did I call? I don't remember who called. But anyway, maybe I called. But the bottom line is we talked on the phone. It was like, oh yeah, hey, yeah, I would love to go on a date. Like, or not even a date. Let's meet up. Like, I'd love to catch up. And so for the first date, he took me dancing, which I was super excited about because I didn't tell him to take me dancing, and I love to dance. And so we went dancing, and we went to a nice little Spanish club, which I love, the Caribbean Latina in me. I was super excited to go dancing. And listen, it was a good first date. I've been on some first dates, and it's on my top 5 first dates, because it was some place that I'd want to go, and 2, it was a good first date. There was no pressure. At the end of the date, there was no, obviously, sex, but if you know me, that wouldn't happen anyway. But I think there was maybe a kiss on the cheek, if I remember. Like, there was literally no pressure. It was a very nice get together, link up date. And then after that, there were dates after dates, because we had a lot in common. We did have a lot. We had a chemistry with each other that was really hard to explain. And I'm not talking about sexual, like legit chemistry. Like, it was like a magnets with us. It was you could tell that our, I don't know what they wanted, the cosmic whatever could meet, right? So we go on a few dates, and next thing I know, we're discussing, no, that's a lie. So we go on the first date, right? Then we go on the second date. Then for the third date, people. So now we've gone on the first date, second date, and now we're meeting for the third date. And I don't remember where we were going for the third date. That's irrelevant for the situation. The night before the third date, I get a text message from a woman stating, let me give you the list of things that this woman is stating. She's stating that she is his wife. She's stating that she is pregnant. And she is stating that he has a third child. He has technically now would be the third. Her pregnancy would be the third child, but he has another child. So he told me he had one child. Once we had the second date, we did talk more because now the second date was at a sit down at a restaurant. The first date we couldn't get into too much because we went dancing, and that's all we did. We didn't go out to dinner or anything. We went dancing. So the second date was a dinner. So we sat down and I explained, I have 2 children. I'm not married. I've never been married. I was in a very long-term relationship. It ended very badly. And, now I'm single. I got my own place. I have a good job, because anyone who's been a single parent, a teen mom, you understand that doesn't happen for us. Took me forever to get my degree. Couldn't work for a while because I wasn't paying for babysitter fees. So blah, blah, blah. I gave him the spiel. And right now I was in a great place. I was in a wonderful place in my life. And he says, I was in a long-term relationship also. I have a son from this relationship. We were supposed to get married, but she cheated and we broke up. Okay, that's fine. 1 kid, I got 2, and he had a boy, I got 2 girls. All right, we're going to make this work. So now when she's texting me, I'm like, what are you talking about? And so she also sends me a picture of their marriage license. So he is legally married, people, married with a pregnant wife and a son that he did not bother to mention. So of course, because I have been in bad relationships and I did not want to be the dumb girl I was before, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop this now. It's only date number 3. I don't love this man. I like him and we have a good chemistry, but end it now. This is what I was telling myself. And I did. I told him that I didn't want to be together, that I was not about to deal with no baby mama drama. I dealt with baby mama drama and I was still dealing with it because we break up doesn't stop he's still the father of my children. So I got to deal with baby mama drama for the rest of my goddamn life. Ain't nobody got no time for that. And I said, no. I was like, no, I appreciate it. I don't think you're a bad guy, but obviously you're lying. You're not keeping it real. And, no, this fool drove. Mind you, I was living on Staten Island, and he did not live on Staten Island. This fool drove all the way to Staten Island and parked in front of my building and waited for me to get off of work to tell me how amazing this relationship was for him and how he didn't want it to end and how I need to just trust people. You hear me? Trust that that they did not have a wedding. So they were supposed to get married, which he did tell me that. They were supposed to get married. They were engaged. They were going to have a wedding. They did fill out the marriage license, but they never had the wedding because she cheated. But you're still married. You're married. You don't have to have a wedding to be married. You know what you do have to do? You have to sign a marriage license. That is what makes you married. You could have at least said that. These are things that you tell people. Let me decide. I was afraid because he wants a divorce and the whole pregnancy thing. So an uncle or somebody had died. And because they've been together all these years, she went, or I think someone on her side died, and he went to the funeral. Somebody died, okay? On his side, her side, somebody died. And because they were together for years and they have a son together, they went to the funeral together, and it was a drunken night, and obviously, there was no plan on her getting pregnant, but she got pregnant. Still information I am not being told. Do you understand? I don't think you understand this. So, yes, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And you know what I did, guys? I stayed. like a dummy. I stayed. Okay. And 6 months later, so after that, though, the relationship was going well. I will admit that. After that little bump, which is a huge bump, everything else seemed to be going good. We spent a lot of time together. So there wasn't any room. I mean, obviously, there's always room for something cheating, but we were together all the time pretty much. Well, not all the time, but when I had free time from my children and he had free time from his son, we spent time together. Then things started dwindling down and he started disappearing, blah, blah, blah. Next thing I know, he was cheating. I found out that he was with another woman through motherfucking Facebook. Okay. So then we break up. Okay, we break up. He's with another woman. He stays with this woman. And then when he breaks up with that woman, he keeps coming back to me. And it was a lot of back and forth. I'm sitting here giving up the cookie, only to him though. But I'm giving up the cookie because one minute he misses me, one minute he wants me. And next thing you know, he's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then he goes and gets into a whole other relationship after playing me and having me think that we were possibly going to work things out. And I can't blame him because I'm not stupid, guys. I saw shit. I felt shit. I constantly ask. When I call you, you don't answer. If I text you, you call me back 3 hours later. We can never meet up. I can never see you. A bunch of all this. And next thing I know, he's literally in a full-blown relationship and he's possibly been in this relationship for a good 5 years. I mean, this shit is crazy. Do you understand? Do you see what I'm talking about? Like, why do people do things like this? Why did he play this game? Like, why couldn't you just be honest? Like, what? She could have you. That's really how I feel, because anybody who could do that, this is the like you really thought this shit out. You really plotted and planned and figured a way out to do these things, and I don't want that. Let that bitch deal with that shit. That's really how I feel about it. So anyway, my point of that story is that we all like to say we're the victim. I was hurt by it, and listen, I don't blame myself for his actions, but I do blame myself for allowing him to be okay with treating me that way, for being okay with sleeping with me and apparently sleeping with another woman, for being okay to have full-on relationships while still kind of dangling and not communicating, because maybe he'll say, well, we weren't together anymore. And no, you were not communicating because you knew where I was. He knew where I stood, but I didn't know where he stood. But guess what? I didn't demand answers. I didn't force him to own his shit. And because of that, he was able to play this game back and forth. And it wasn't until, I really had to say, like, yo, and I can't even be your friend. I can't even be your friend because you're not a good person. Like, no. And I don't want to hear, oh, he did you dirty. No, you're not a good person. You're just not. Anyway, but my point is I'm saying, like, why do we stay? And men and women, because I'm sure there's a woman out there who's doing her man dirty. I'm not talking about sexes. I'm just saying, why do we stay when we know? And then why do we cheat? Because like I said, I have cheated. Why do we cheat knowing that we're unhappy or knowing that shit can end? Like, what if his girlfriend would have found out that he had still been dealing with me? Like, couldn't that have risked something? Or maybe she would have been the Keisha. Maybe she would have stayed and not cared that he was having a whole pretend or not pretend relationship. You know what I'm saying? Or like my coworker, like, why was he willing to risk, sleeping around and everything? Why was I willing to risk? Like, why are we okay with that? And is there excuses for cheating? Can the excuse be that you weren't happy, that you weren't getting what you wanted for your relationship? Does anybody give a pass for cheating? Does anybody feel like there is a pass? I don't personally, and I've been on both sides of it, but maybe somebody it does. Maybe somebody thinks there's a pass for cheating. Let me know. Hit me up. If you want to know more about that situation, I could definitely let you know more. And I could also give you feedback on my current situation and how I got past, from what I know, is only emotional cheating, only what I know. But how do we get past this? How do we acknowledge, especially when we stay, when you decide to stay in the relationship, how do you move past the cheating? What steps do you think? For me, therapy, I'm telling you, it will save someone's life. It will. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and don't forget to leave a comment and let me know what you think. And that's it. Have a good night. Till next time.